Guys, if you ever get an opportunity, look up the history of Belisarius. You see, the name of this Strand pulse rifle intrigued me enough that I went and looked it up, and Belisarius is actually a historical figure back during the Byzantine Empire. And let me just give you kind of the run-of-the-mill, the history of this guy. Imagine being a beast of a commander, literally winning campaign after campaign. He's so good and so popular that the gods that besieged Rome literally was like, listen, we'll surrender as long as you become our emperor. Dude, that's crazy. Now, tragically, this is a story of a general who never wanted to be emperor, who served as emperor loyally his entire life, despite his emperor constantly thinking that he was gunning for his job. And every time Justinian got in trouble, he would then call on Belisarius to bail him out. Now, there's many interpretations of Belisarius. To me, it's a tragic story of a man who was never truly rewarded for his loyalty. And despite having the ability to do so, he instead chose to serve rather than be served. Now, what the hell does this have anything to do with this aggressive pulse rifle that is only obtainable in the competitive playlists? Actually, nothing. Literally, there's no lore tab. I was hoping there was going to be something here, but that's not to say that the weapon isn't unique. It is the first of its kind, a Strand aggressive pulse rifle. Now, again, you can only get this from the competitive playlist. You play 3 games on each character, and you get a random roll. Now, let me also just say, guys, it has been a long time since we've seen a new aggressive pulse rifle. In fact, Season of the Seraph was the last time we received one, which actually brought us 2 at the time, which was Velis X and Disparity. So we have some points of comparison here to make today, which is where we're going to start off with, that being in its stats. In terms of aggressive burst pulse rifles, let me just say Belisarius is a stat monster. It has the highest base range at 77, the highest base handling at 31, the highest airborne effectiveness, a solid base recoil direction of 74, although we're going to get into that in a bit. However, it does have the lowest base stability, sitting at 55, and this is again within its own archetype. Keep in mind though, the margin here is very small. Take for instance Insidious, you're looking at only losing out by 5 stability. Now its aim assist is also a bit lower though at 40, with Sacred Prominence coming out on top at 48. I'm still praying for that loot refreshing Garden of Salvation. Now there is one stat that does stand out, and that is the zoom. The zoom is at 19. You see, Belisarius and Disparity are the only 2 aggressive pulse rifles with 19 zoom. The rest of our aggressives sit at 18. Now back in the day, that used to be a big deal considering that zoom meant more range. That isn't the case here anymore, as Bungie has normalized range at the beginning of Season 22, but you still get other benefits, most notably in that aim assist maintaining at great ranges. I think for the most part, range-wise, you're gonna be just fine, guys. I mean, I was sitting up with like my 82 range roll, roughly around 40 meters. If you have like a 92 range roll, you're sitting at 41 meters. That's a hell of a lot of range. What you start to run into though at those ranges is just making sure that every shot lands. Keep in mind, guys, this is an aggressive burst pulse rifle, meaning it shoots 4 rounds per burst. And let me just say, some people either love this archetype or completely hate it and never use it. And I get why they don't like it, because that 3rd shot in a 3-round burst pulse rifle, that's something we're used to managing. But that 4th shot, that can throw you off, especially in certain recoil directions where you see the deviation, either the kick to the right or the kick to the left. And these are things that can lose you gunfights. Now I'm gonna take a look at the perks though, because that's gonna be the difference maker here. In our left column, we have Slice. We've got Rapid Hit, Elemental Capacitor, Eye of the Storm, Keep Away, and Vorpal. For our right column, we have Hatchling, Kill Clip, Moving Target, Headseeker, Deconstruct, and Zim Moments. Now guys, I tried out a number of different roles. The first role I wanted to try out that I felt would be extremely unique here is Headseeker and Keep Away. First up, Headseeker is such a good perk on pulse rifles, as not only does your precision damage increase after landing a body shot, but this is perfect for a 4-round burst pulse, because you kind of want to hit in that chest area because of that kick on that 4th round. But the other thing that's really good about Headseeker is that it buffs aim assist. This is a very nice change that they made to Headseeker, making it one of my most used perks when it comes to pulse rifles. Now this takes us to range and damage fall off. First up, base 77 range on Belisarius hits up to 39.2 meters at max damage. A max 100 range roll could kick that up to 42.3 meters. Now, I like to bring that up because there's not a massive gap on the stats here. Yes, adding in an extra 3 meters is nice, but you don't have to kill yourself to get to that 100 max range. And the beautiful thing about a perk like Keep Away is not only does Keep Away increase our accuracy when targets are outside of 15 meters, which given the range of this weapon is very easy to accomplish, but it also decreases accuracy cone growth. Now, time to kill wise on this archetype, at tier 10 resilience, it takes 8 crits. You can accomplish this in 0.73 seconds. From tier 9 to tier 4 resilience, you can do this in 7 crits 1 body, still at 0.73, and then tier 3 to tier 0, you can get that 0.73 TTK value in 6 crits 2 body. Now, of course, Kill Clip helps this substantially, as it gives us that 25% damage buff. I think Kill Clip is super manageable valuable inside of things like 6v6, but this actually will drop our TTK down to 0.67 seconds, even at max resilience guardians. And at tier 8 resilience guardians or below, you can get the 6 crit kill with kill clip in 0.6 seconds. Now understand guys, things are going to change pretty drastically here soon. Most notably in the March update 7.3.5. Health pools are being increased across the board. And as you notice going over these TTKs, especially on this archetype, forgiveness is kind of what it's known for. After the changes, it's still going to be a 0.73 optimal time to kill in 8 crits at max resilience guardians. Now at tier 7, you can get the 7 crits 1 body at 0.73 seconds, but there is no point in which you can get the 6 crits 2 body. Not at tier 3 resilience, tier 2, tier 1, none of those. So keep in mind, you are losing that bit of forgiveness, as the emphasis after that update is going to be on landing those crits. Now this is also where Headseeker comes into play, and that's why I was saying Headseeker is so good on this archetype. First up, in the current sandbox that we have here, from tier 10 resilience to tier 7, you can get that 6 crit 2 body. Again, still in 0.73 seconds, but it's that forgiveness that's so nice. Now you can get the 5 crit 3 body, but that's a bit inconsistent, but that is possible from tier 6 resilience and below. Now after the update in March, this is going to change things. TTK wise, everything still stays the same at 0.73 seconds. And instead of it being 6 crits 2 body, it will now be 7 crits in 1 body on tier 10 resilience to tier 7. And then tier 6 and below will be 6 crits 2 body, but again, still that same 0.73 seconds. I know I'm jumping a lot of numbers out at you right now, guys. The point is that there's going to be a lot more emphasis after the Crucible update on landing those crits, Belisarius included. The beautiful thing about Headseeker is that it does allow for one of those shots to be a body shot. Now here's the thing, I can slap it on paper and say, yeah, Headseeker, keep away, or even Headseeker rapid hit all day long, that's the way to go. But then Bungie bestowed this role for me, rapid hit and Zen moment. Dude, I didn't even know this pulse rifle could get that. Now I know the mag perk's not that good, the barrel perk could be better, but the point is, I have 2 perks that turn this pulse rifle into a laser. Let me just say what makes rapid hit so good on pulse rifles. Considering the burst fire nature of the weapon, you can get immediately 4 stacks of rapid hits. That means within a single burst, if you land all crits, you're talking 18 stability, as well as 42 reload, just from 1 burst landing all crits. Which means if you're going from target to target, things are very leveled. Then we take Zim moments, where causing damage with the weapon reduces recoil and flinch over time. I need my mouse and keyboard players to know that Zim moment is a good perk for you. You see, back in the day, Zim moment was worthless, but it is noticeable for all inputs, even mouse and keyboard users. But it grants you flinch resistance. It reduces visual weapon shake. It reduces reticle bounce. There are so many good things about Zim moments. It turned this pulse rifle into a laser for me. And again, this is a 2 out of 5 gun roll. Everything else on this thing is garbage, which is why I was really torn about this weapon when reviewing it. And the reality is, guys, I really just can't narrow down what the gun roll is. There's just a lot of things that work really well. Now, there was one trait that we did pass up, that being slice, and we're going to talk about that more in our PvE section. But casting your class ability allows this weapon to sever targets on hit for a brief duration, up to a maximum number of targets. Now, I love slice this season. Granted, it's going to still be good next season, but what makes slice really good this season, especially in PvP, is that you can combine slice with torch to work inside of PvP. As long as you have a means of going radiant, this combination puts out some hefty damage. So again, you can go with a slice roll, maybe even a slice Headseeker roll if you wish. And I've used this same combination inside of PvP with Lethal Abundance, which is the Iron Banner auto rifle, and it shreds. And despite this slice roll definitely being more of a PvE gauge roll, you can take advantage of slice inside of PvP and have a ton of success. So long story short, Belisarius is a great pulse rifle for PvP. Now, would I use it over Disparity? Especially considering Disparity is a craftable weapon. That is a tough one, man. Considering Disparity has so many great things about it, from rapid hit Headseeker to enhanced perks to its origin trait being ambush, which grants you a ton of benefits. What Belisarius does have over Disparity though, is that it has the option of stocks, from short action to hand laid to fitted stock. These are all different things that give you benefits. And we're talking big stat bump benefits. For instance, fitted stock gives you plus 10 stability and plus 20 recoil direction. Guys, right off the bat, you don't even have to worry about arrowhead break or even maxing out that recoil direction. You get fitted stock, throw on a counterbalance mod if you want, although 94 recoil direction is still really good with just fitted, and dude, you're set. And recoil direction is a very big deal here on this archetype. And that is one thing that I don't like about Disparity, is that its recoil direction of 67 sucks. Like, you need arrowhead break. And yeah, you can get away with some other things on Disparity. Maybe you do extended barrel and do a counterbalance mod, but if you're trying to get to that max max recoil direction, you gotta go arrowhead break, which means you do kill your other stats. Whereas Belisarius here has these stocks that bump up those things for you, leaving more flexibility in that barrel perk and magazine perk. To me, guys, I think it's a pulse rifle worth getting, which takes us to my PvE players. I know PvE players who are probably like, Cross, I am never going inside of comp. But keep in mind, guys, we have a number of competitive changes coming here soon. You're gonna be able to get artifice armor from competitive. You can also get in-game materials from comp. Look, I'm not trying to talk you into going into comp, but this is a good pulse rifle inside of PvE. Something that makes this weapon really unique is that it does have access to origin traits, that being our Hake breach armaments. Now, things like Rose and Mercurial, they have things like grips or stock options, but Belisarius is the first to actually have access to its origin traits, which makes sense considering it is a Hake weapon. Now, Hake inside of PvE is pretty nice, as it deals increased damage against vehicles and constructs. Even inside of PvP, you can deal more damage against Titan barricades, and right around the corner, Void Souls and Strand clones are set to be those same constructs as well. Now, at the beginning of this season, there was actually a pulse rifle buff that went out, that being a 12.5% buff against both red bar enemies and orange bar enemies. Now, here on Europa, against red bar enemies, we're doing 2,282 damage to the head, which is 9,128 damage per burst, and 1,346 to the body, which is 5,384 damage per burst. Now, against orange bars, that's 1,614 to the head, which is a little less than 6,500 per burst, and 952 damage to the body, which is around 3,808 per burst. Now, is this really moving the needle inside of PvE? Well, that's where we bring in the DPS comparison here, guys. And I do want to compare this mainly to other pulse rifles. Rapid fire pulse rifles have a DPS of 13,453. Adaptives sit at 12,912. High impacts sit at 12,893. Lightweight sit at 12,680 DPS. And lastly, we have aggressives at a whopping 12,525. So it actually comes in last place here. Now, I think to most of us, pulse rifles do feel weak inside of PvE. Again, these are these DPS values, but when we start comparing it to other primary weapons inside of PvE, it definitely falls behind. And I know most people are gonna be like, but Cross, the total damage is pretty good here. Dude, I'm looking for DPS on a primary weapon. And even having anti-overload pulse rifle this season on our artifact mod, I'm still choosing other things inside of PvE that could deal with overloads. Whether it's overload auto rifles or overload rocket launchers or a weapon with chill clip or something to lean into my subclass. But we did get this role in PvE that we had to try. Slice and Hatchling. I am going for maximum Strand synergy. And even though, yes, Vorpal is also present on Belisarius, which is nice on a primary, it is 20% more damage, and you can use that instead of Slice. And yes, you can stack Vorpal with a damage perk, as Vorpal's in that first column. But again, there's a lot of reasons why I like Slice this season. That's sever the targets after casting your class ability. You can lean a torch if you're rocking a Radiant-based build, or if somebody on your team is making you Radiant. And you can sever up to 5 targets for 8 seconds after using your class ability. And this helps greatly with survivability, as it reduces enemy outgoing damage by a whopping 40%. Now, is Hatchling the play? For PvE players, I think it is. Yeah, you can go kill clip or some on the damage perk, but I love the Strand synergy too much here. And keep in mind, in update 7.3.5, Hatchling is only going to get better. Quote, activation requirements are no longer locked to the archetype in terms of precision or non-precision kills. Instead, the perk will trigger with either a precision kill or 3 non-precision kills. This is going to make Hatchling way more forgiving to proc, since you'll either just need 1 precision kill or 2 non-precision kills, which is fairly easy to do. Now, even though we just talked about DPS amongst pulse rifle, again, what sets Belisarius apart is that it is a Strand weapon. And if you're taking advantage of unraveling orbs this season, that grants your Strand weapons unraveling rounds when you pick up an orb of power. And then you got Horde Shuttle, where damaging unraveled targets will occasionally spawn a threadling. This doubles up Hatchling potential here, spawning 2 threadlings at once. Now, it's also worth noting things like unraveling rounds can stun barrier champions as long as you don't have overload pulse rifle equipped. I love the synergy. I love the things that Strand weapons can do, especially with unraveling rounds. Now, would I still use this pulse rifle inside of PvE? Probably not. And it's not a fault of Belisarius. I think it's just an issue with all pulse rifles in general. I'm just not crazy about them here, guys. If Bungie wants me to use a pulse rifle inside of PvE, they're gonna have to do something else to them. They're gonna have to buff them, especially. Even the countless buffs that's been given to Revision 0. And I love Revision 0. At the end of the day, I'm probably still gonna use Quicksilver Storm over it, or some other exotic primary weapon. And that's Revision in its 2-round burst form and its 4-round burst form. So the point is, it's not that Belisarius isn't a good weapon inside of PvE. It definitely has a ton of synergy. It's just that, in my opinion, pulse rifles are in a sticky spot overall. So guys, that is our review here for the competitive weapon this season, Belisarius. Bungie, add a cool lore tab. Jesus, it's a dope name based on a dope historical figure. figure. You would think there would be a cool lore tab. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.